All right, congrats. Now you've done the body of your hat after 5.5 inches. The body of your hat's just nice and smooth and it looks really nice, hopefully. I know mine looks nice. So now we're going to come to the part where you're going to make the top of the hat. And the way you do that is you start getting less and less stitches. So that way it gets round, it becomes round like the top of your head. And the way we do that is we decrease the number of stitches per round. What we basically do is we combine 2 stitches from the previous row into 1 stitch. This is our first marker, the end of round marker. We're going to be adding more markers onto this row. So just keep in mind that your first marker is the one that lines up with the tail at the bottom. Some people like to use a different colored marker for the first one. In this case, I have all the same colored, so I'm just going to be really careful. And the first thing we're going to do is, after placing my marker, is we're going to knit 2 together. And the way you do this is, you see your first 2 stitches, you're going to knit them, just like you did before, but you're going to do them at the same time. So instead of slipping your needle through one, like so, you're going to slip it through both. So you're going to slip through the back to front of one and both. So that way it looks just like there's 1 stitch. Like this. They're on there together. They're best friends. And you're going to wrap your yarn around like usual, pull your yarn through, and slip off, just like normal, except now you've taken 2 stitches off instead of 1. But they're not going to fall or anything. They're going to be nice and snug. And now you have 1 stitch where there would have been 2 before. After that, we're going to knit 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're going to put another marker on. Just slip it right on the right hand needle. And we're going to knit 2 together again. So slip through the first and then the second. So it looks like this, very nice and neat. Wrap around, pull through, slip off, and then knit 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very good. And now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to place the marker and knit 2 together. 9. Okay. And so now we're back to the first stitch marker that we put in place. And see, there's my lovely tail right there, just like I said it would be. What we're going to do now is we are going to knit, just knit a single row. Knit every single stitch, 1 row. And now we're back to the very beginning of our row again. We've just knit for 1 row. Now, this next row, instead of placing markers, what we're going to do is, after each marker, including the beginning of the row one, we're going to knit 2 together. So we knit 2 together, and then we're going to knit to the next marker. In this case, we'll have knit 8. And so then you'll slip the marker and you'll knit 2 together. And then knit to the next marker. And basically you're going to continue like that until you end up with very few stitches left. But before we get to having only about 5 stitches left, we're going to have to switch to double pointed needles. And that will be the next thing I have to show you. Now that we've come back to the end of the round, and we're on the beginning of the next round, this is the spot where I'm going to transition to using double pointed needles I have right here. Now, to do this, it's very, very simple. We're just going to use one at a time, and we're going to be moving on to 3. I'm just going to start knitting like I had before, continuing in the round. I'm just not going to hold on to the right-handed needle. I'm going to start this on a row where all I have to do is knit, and I don't have to worry about knitting 2 together. It makes this process a lot easier. So I'm just going to start knitting. Oops. I'll pull it up, and that's not going to do anything. That's just me making sure that my stitches don't fall off the other end, because no matter what happens, you really, really, really don't want to lose any of your stitches, because then your whole hat will unravel. Now you're taking your stitch markers with you. I was just removing the first one because you'll have 3 needles, so you'll know where your beginning and end is. And like I said, you can use that wonderful tail. And so I picked up a new needle, and this will be my second needle. As you can, still working in the round, just like I was before. No big deal. Very easy. And now I'm going to put these last stitches onto my 3rd needle. And now I'm going to put these last stitches onto my 3rd needle. And now we're done with this circular needle, so you can just set this off to the side, and we're not going to worry about them right now. Okay, so that's great. Now we're on our double pointed needles. See, that wasn't really hard at all to switch. So now as you can see, our hat is really looking like a hat. And so we've got our 3 needles. Now you might be thinking, but that looks like a triangle. How could that possibly make a circle? Well, I promise you, it makes a circle. And we're coming in on a row where we're going to knit 2 together, but don't worry about that. That doesn't make any kind of difference. Now you might find it a little cumbersome to do this first row because there's so many stitches, but once we go through 2 rounds or so, we'll have much less stitches to deal with, and it becomes much, much easier. What we're going to do is you're going to have the yarn from the last needle, and that's going to come up to the 3rd. Now you don't have to do anything with it, just make sure it's nice and tight. Now we're knitting 2 together, so slip your needle through just like you did before. Grab the yarn, pull it through, and you've done it. Now you're on, you just knit the next stitch and keep knitting. Alright, so the row that I just did was knit 2 together, knit 1 in between the place markers. As you can see now, there are only 2 stitches in between each marker, and the hole has gotten substantially smaller, which is sort of nice to see because now you can really see your hat nice and neatly. And you can see how those decreases have helped make the shape. And so the next row that you're going to do of decreases is you're going to knit 2 every single time you knit, instead of having knit 2 and a number after that you knit. Everything you can do in the next decrease row is going to be knit 2. So in the next row that I have is just the placeholder all knit row. And so when I do that row, I'm going to take out all of my stitch markers, so that way I'm left with nothing but stitches on my needles.